Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Hey sports fans, are you ready for an exhilarating gaming experience? Introducing VIPclub.lv, your ultimate online sportsbook and casino. VIPclub.lv offers a vast selection of sports, from football and basketball to tennis and baseball. Bet on your favorite teams and enjoy the thrill of the game. But that's not all. Our state-of-the-art online casino offers a dazzling array of games, including slots, blackjack, roulette, and live dealer tables. Win big with their fantastic promotions, rewards, and exclusive offers. Join VIPclub.lv today and get a generous 200% match welcome bonus to start your winning streak. Bet it, win it, and cash it at VIPclub.lv. Visit VIPclub.lv now and play responsibly. VIPclub.lv, your sportsbook and casino extravaganza. Must be 21 or older to play. Please gamble responsibly. Visit gambleware.org for help.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is the Midday Market Report for Wednesday, June 7th, 2023, with Andrew McInnis. Shout out to the guys behind the desk, Mr. Joe Shea, Mr. Ben Cohen, and Mr. Cade Horton, getting all the good stuff done for us. Shout out to VIPclub.lv, for our new sponsor of the show. Use promo code ECSI. Tell them JD sent you, and they'll take care of you from there. Great customer service there. Today, this afternoon, Andrew and I will talk NBA Game 3, Heat Nuggets. We'll talk a little about tomorrow's must-win for the Panthers as they trail Vegas 2-0. And we're going to talk some Canadian Football League. It's opening weekend in the CFL. And what better way to get that started than with the guru himself, Mr. Andrew McInnis. So without further ado, let's bring him in, Mr. Andrew McInnis.
Good afternoon.
How are you, sir?
Very good. I'm excited. You know, it's not because of the NHL, not because of the NBA, but the Canadian Football League is back. They do not drag out training camp and many weeks of the preseason like they do in the NFL. We're ready to rock. We've got numbers. We've got movement in the market, and we're ready to fire. In fact, I've already fired on a few wagers. So looking forward to this week and looking forward to getting into the props as well. Last week, we gave the viewers some futures, so looking forward to diving into some picks for week one.
Shout out to Connor. Says, afternoon, Jeffrey and Andrew. Good afternoon, Connor. Glad to see you here as always. There's a basketball game in South Beach tonight. 1-1. Denver box to wire in game one. Strong game two, and Jimmy Butler and the rest of the Miami Heat said not so fast. And I want to say this. Before the tip-off of Game 2, Denver was as high as minus 700 to win the series. Jimmy Butler, Mr. Spoelstra, come in and steal Game 2, 1-1 now. I've seen now Denver minus 220, the Heat plus 190. Each shop does vary a little. The opening number tonight, the real number, was Denver minus 2. And for me, I know there's only one way that number can go, and it's going the way it was. 2.5. I do see 3. I do see 3.5 in some spots. Are you buying or selling? Are you buying the steak or the sizzle tonight?
I mean, it's tough to look at because that Miami Heat team, they battled. They came back. I spoke before the last game, Game 2, and said, if you like the Heat, sprinkle or just take the money line. I believe that they were going to cover. They were going to win the game. But what I ended up on was just the full game over. We saw a lot faster of pace, a lot less of the 5-on-5 half-court sets, more of the fast break style. But I believe that what they tried to do. And Coach Spo, you got to give him credit, Spoelstra, what he's able to do. I'm happy for him because everyone thought that all his success was because of Wade and LeBron and Bosch. So it's good to see him, really cement himself as such a great coach that hopefully everybody knows that he really is. But I'll tell you what, they tried to make Jokic into the scorer and not let him be a passer. And everyone's saying that worked for them. I don't think that can work in back-to-back games. There's a man that's a walking triple-double, Jeff. This is a guy that he gets triple-doubles like he's shooting free throws. It's like it's not a big deal to him whatsoever. As funny as it is, and as much as I do think that Miami can be a good defensive team, I do think that the over correlates with a Miami Heat victory just because of the size mismatch. I believe that Denver wants to play half-court basketball versus Miami wants to get out and run. I think the under benefits the Denver Nuggets, which is where I'm looking tonight for things to kind of, it's so interesting in playoffs, right? How you can feel some type of way going into one game and the next game, you're pretty much flipping what you like. And that's kind of how I feel. I loved the over last game, like the under in this game. But I'm keeping my eye on the player props, and I nailed it with Strus last game, and my guy for tonight, Jeff, is going to be Michael Porter Jr. I'm looking at him, and in the playoffs, I'm not saying I want to just piggyback on these guys that disappointed the previous game, but anybody that follows this series and follows the Denver Nuggets, they know that there's not one single shot in the world that Michael Porter Jr. won't shoot. He could have 5 guys on him. He's going to shoot that. He's not passing it into the post, and guys like that, the reason why I bring that up, all jokes aside, is that he's going to continue to shoot. He is going to shoot if he's 0 for 9 or if he's 0 for 25. And Michael Porter Jr. went 2 for 8 from the field, 1 for 6 from three-point land, and he had just 5 points. And tonight, his number is actually not too bad. It's at 14.5, and I think that his success is correlated with the success of the Denver Nuggets. And let's not forget, a lot of the times that when Jokic is drawing all kinds of players towards him, he's dumping it off to either A, Aaron Gordon, or B, to Porter Jr., either in the high post or out there in three-point land. So I'll take Michael Porter Jr. as my guy. And I'll tell you, that's mostly what I've been doing with the NBA player props. I don't get into the guys that are over 28.5, 30 points. I like kind of the mid-tier guys. So I'll take the under full game and Michael Porter Jr. over. And I got to get credit because you've been jumping into the prop world and it's going pretty well for you so far. So I'm happy to see it. I tip my hat to you, but MPJ over 14.5 points tonight.
And what was your number on the under for the total in the game?
Let's see what it's currently at right now. Under, it moved, I think, from like 214 to 213.5. We'll call it.
Okay. 5-1 in the MLB prop market. Listen, you turned me on to the source. I love it. It's for me, it's a dream. I mean, the way they break it down, the color coordination, I can bounce back from sport to sport. Again, just getting my feet wet. We threw out, as you know, a couple for tonight. It was funny. Last night we had the under on Lamet 4.5. He strikes out 2 in the first, 2 in the second, and I'm like, are you kidding? But I looked at the pitch count. I was like, I was up. I didn't think he was going to go that far, and he got stuck on 4, which meant we were able to cash that one.
Yeah,
so it's been fun.
That's the best.
Sure.
It's the best fun. When you have the unders and you see the pitching coach or the manager walking out. Get him out of the game. Take him out of there. He's done. That's all he had to do. Sometimes even if they're having a good game, they don't get their over just because their pitch count.
I have to go off rails here for 1 second. I'm a part of a big fantasy baseball team. I'm the investor. I'm grabbing the coattails. I know baseball, but not at this level where these guys are at. It's a $2,500 entry fee, 14 teams, 20,000 for first. It was 8,000 for second. We got second last year, and we drafted a pitcher at the 3-4 turn that had a great last year. And when I say he had a great last year, he had a good first half, kind of ran out of gas, I thought, in the second half. And his numbers, though, when you were looking at him for this year, were off the charts. And that's Alek Manoah. And I've seen every one of his starts. I saw him opening day. It looked like David Wells, just from the right side. Looked like he, I don't want to say put on a few pounds, but he didn't look like he came in full-fledged in shape and has just struggled since day one. And they didn't send him down to AAA, AA, or single A. They sent him down to an instructional league. And I know you follow the Jays. I just want to know from someone on Cape Cod, Mass, what are they saying out there in Toronto land about Alek Manoah?
Well, I think overreaction would be an understatement, or not even the word overreaction. Reaction would be a word to use, because everyone's talking about it. Every media outlet. The Raptors and the Blue Jays are Canada's team. There's no other baseball team and no other basketball team. So every media outlet, they get to explode whenever anything like that happens. There were articles that, of course, people were questioning the integrity of them before the season started, saying, will pitchers that weigh 250 and above struggle with the pitch clock? And I don't think that those people were being immoral when they were saying that. It looks to me like they were spitting nothing but facts, because the pitch clock, but not even just that, it seems like his slider is just hanging over the plate. He's pitching batting practice to some of these guys. It pained my soul to take the Astros first 5 a few days ago, but I also like making money. So I had to do it against Manoah. This is the thing. Confidence is a big thing, Jeff. We all know it in everything we do in life. And I think that even though it's kind of weird the way they handled it, putting him right down to the bottom league there in the instructional, but he needs to get his swagger back. A lot of people said that he was one of the most, I don't know if hated is the word to use, but he used to always talk smack to batters when he'd strike them out. And it's not really a good thing. And when you're not striking anybody out and you're getting home runs hit against you. So he needs to get that swag back, that confidence back, and start striking guys out, because that's what he was known for. He wasn't a ground ball pitcher. He was throwing heat. He was supposed to beat you and give it to you as long as his arm would go. So one thing that bothers me, though, is how much he was complaining whenever a pitching coach or the manager would take him out of the game. How can you complain when you're getting asked to go out of the game? It's not like you're serving, like shutouts here, buddy. You're giving up 4 or 5 runs in the first 3 innings every time you start a game. So it's difficult. It's shocking. And what's funny is, like, if I asked you to rank the starting pitchers for the Blue Jays right now, after Gossman, where do you go? That's my biggest question. Is it Bassett? Who is it? Who's number 2? Who's 3? Who's 4? Because and then Kikuchi was great for the first 4 games of the year, and he's back to his old self. And Barrios, you never know what you're going to get with him. So it's a big problem, because he was. I mean, look at where the Blue Jays are in the schedule right now, and let's pretend that Manoah played half decent and half his start so far. Do the Blue Jays have a few more wins on their schedule? They probably do. They're in last place. They're struggling in their division. They've been in last place at least, and it's. I hate to pin it on one player, but he's supposed to be a top guy.
Well, he couldn't get through 5 innings. It was 3 1/3, 4 1/3, and it was 90 pitches, 48 strikes and 42 balls. And Monday was just the tipping point. He got 1 out. He gave up 6 runs, and he left with 2 guys on. He was fortunate that they didn't give up those 2 runs as well. But again, they're basically stripping him bare ass right now, starting him at the bottom. You can't go any lower right now, Alek. You need to start over, whether it's Regiment, whether it's, as you said, the slider. For a righty, he couldn't throw it for a strike. Never mind, it was landed in the lefty box. I mean, it wasn't even close as a throwaway pitch. It wasn't even close. And what he did on Monday by only getting 1 out is he killed the bullpen for the rest of the series here.
Yes.
And so, again, Gosman just came in statement. I think 13 strikeouts was amazing. Berrios has shown flashes. Kukuc, you know what you're going to get from a fourth, fifth starter. And Bassett started slow. He has shown flashes as well. As TJ says, sweat some weight off. Yeah, don't get the year membership at the Old Country Buffet, you don't need seconds and thirds, never mind, 2 plates at a time. So I did digress. I just wanted your thoughts there, because I know, listen, for the Jays to go far, he was going to be a big part. You had Gosman and Manoah was going to be the 1-2 punch. And, but all right.
Do you think it's good how early they did this? Like, I think, or was it too late? I think it was pretty good time. And let's be honest here. We're only in early June. You know how baseball goes. I think as long as that division's so competitive, the way I look at baseball, as long as you just avoid the big swings, right? And as a Jays fan, I'm kind of happy to see what they did to him, and instead of waiting until the middle of July to do this.
I was wondering what took them so long, because I was seeing this for a while. I was like, is he hurt? Is he not telling anyone something? And then I'm hearing rumblings that the Jays didn't have anywhere to go. They didn't have anyone down in the minor, in the AAA, AA to bring up for a spot start. Hey, yes. Alec, you're hurt. Wink, wink. Go take 10 days, 2 weeks. Let's figure this out. So they went as far as they could, and they finally waved the white flag and said enough, and we'll figure this thing out. So it will be interesting for sure. So, all right, quickly, we'll go over to tomorrow night. Florida and Vegas. Vegas, 2 big statements. On our show last week, you gave out a nice sleeper with Marsha Show, potential winner. Came out guns a-blazing. That team did. It was Hill standing on his head, not Bob standing on his head. Going to the third period of game 1 to the second period in game 2. I think it was Vegas outscored them. It was something stupid. It was like they scored 3 in the third to end the game in game 1. And then what they score 5 before they pulled Bob or something. So it was just crazy, the dominance that the Knights have. Now you come into a must-win game 3. The real number was 125 Panthers with a 5.5. It's down to 117 at Circa. What are you seeing for game 3?
I'm seeing the way that the numbers switched. I don't understand. Nobody ever told me that home ice advantage meant this much in hockey. I never got the memo, because the way the odds have switched, we expected it because of the home ice switcheroo here. But the way I look at it is this, and you mentioned it, and I'm happy you did. I know you would, that Adin Hill is not getting enough credit because his team has scored so many goals. If the Golden Knights were putting up 3 goals a game, Adin Hill is the story. He is the guy so far in the series. Unfortunately for him, not that he probably cares too much about it, what the media has to say, nobody is talking about Adin Hill, because why do you have to care about what your goaltender is doing when you're scoring 7 goals in a game? That to me is the biggest difference, is that every single time Adin Hill makes a big save, that seems to be the same sequence. The Vegas Golden Knights go on over and end up scoring a goal. My answer to you, Jeff, is I don't think that we see a game in the near future in the Stanley Cup Finals that is a complete shutdown game. Anybody that's excited to bet unders right now can keep on waiting. They can watch that game and hold their breath. If you want to bet an under in that game, I don't recommend watching the game, because if you're an analytical guy, if you're someone that's actually watching the games, you and I both know that if Florida puts in a couple more goals themselves, that game could have hit 11, 12, 13 goals. Florida outshot Vegas Golden Knights again in that game. They put up 32 or 33 shots. It's not like they're getting purely dominated. It's just the Golden Knights top players are capitalizing on chances. But it started off in game 1, minus 120 was the price in the first period over. Game 2, minus 125. Game 3, minus 130. This time I might just stay off the first period and say, you know what? They moved the total to 6. I'll take it. I'm in. Let's go for the over. I just simply don't think everyone's waiting for the Bob show, right? Everyone's waiting for, well, this is the game that Bob's going to steal. They're back in Florida. Jeff, even if Bob steals it, I think Florida has to score 3 or 4 goals to win that game. So I think at worst tomorrow we see 6 and I get the push. I'll take the over 6 tomorrow.
You know, and the funny thing is go back to Game 5 against the Bruins, the breakaway from Marchand stop. They win in overtime. That Game 6 that Bob was in net, it was first 1-6. I think Florida won 6-5. And so it was, you know, they started winning again with Bob. But let's be realistic. If they didn't have the 8, 9, 10 days off before the Stanley Cup, for them to have succeeded, I think they needed to play that, you know, in 3-4 days. Like Vegas had 4 days off. That was the perfect rest. Now, listen, Vegas is a great team. Cassidy's a great coach. Great story. Hill, great story. Obviously, we'll see Game 3. Now, does Vegas do what they did to Dallas up 2-0? Come in there, score 3 in the first and say, thanks for playing as they rip your heart out? Or does Panthers have one last stand? Because at the end of the day, anyone with a Vegas ticket is sitting there saying, well, they're who we thought they were, basically. They're the 8 seed. We're Vegas. We're the 1 seed. What were you guys thinking? You know? Because you haven't seen that, Bob. And listen, Panthers have been playing, I'm not even going to say chippy, okay? They've been taking a lot of stupid penalties, real stupid penalties. And you know this, you know, you keep giving a team a power play, they're going to score. And Vegas has got snipers, and it hasn't been pretty. But I think we'll know real early in the first 20 minutes, Andrew.
Time will tell, and you made a really great point bringing up that Dallas game, because Vegas said, hey, you're excited to be back home. Hey, that was a really nice pregame show. See you later after the first period. That's why I'm staying away from the side. You know, people keep asking me who's going to win, who's going to win, who's going to win. The best part about betting is you don't have to pick a side. You know, you can bet those totals, and I just don't see a world that even if Florida comes back, that they contain Vegas and keep this a 2-1 game. I would be shocked. If tomorrow's game is just a shutdown. We might see some brilliant saves from Bobrovsky, but Aiden Hill is going to get beat a few more times. And I'm not going to lie to you, Jeff. I considered the 2.5 team total to the over. I saw that jet from 165 to 180. That's not happening. And then I look at the 3.5 at plus money. But then I said, if you're going to bet over 3.5 for Florida, why the hell wouldn't you just bet the full game over? So that's kind of what I decided to do. If I really think Florida can reach 4 goals, then you probably think that, you know, Vegas is going to get 1 or 2 of themselves. And I think we'll see some goals in that game. So that's where I'd look. At this point, if you're not betting Eichel assist and Marchessault goal, you're missing out. Here's what I'll say, though, about Tkachuk. He had 2 misconducts in 1 game. Again, he's got three misconducts in 2 games so far. Yet last game, he still had 4 shots on goal and a goal. What's he going to do if they don't put him in the box for 15 minutes tomorrow? I think we have to bet his shots on goal prop over again. The 2 guys to watch out for shots on goal for Florida are the 2 Greece guys, Sam Bennett and Matthew Tkachuk. The rest of the team, in my opinion, they're trying to score too nice of goals, Jeff. And what's good about Bennett and Tkachuk, they at least aren't going to, I mean, you know how they are. They don't care at all. They're the guys that will punch the goalie in the head before they score. They don't care. So those are my 2 guys. But I think it should be a good game, and I'm just going to hope for some goals.
Well, we've been prefacing and leading everyone up to it. So everyone go grab your notepads, go grab your pens. Canadian Football League kicks off this weekend, and you and I, this is year 3, if I remember correctly, talking some Canadian Football League. And for me, it's always learning and learning and learning. And I've gotten a lot better at reading the market over the last 2 years as we go week to week, as you break down these games, and I use my eyes to read the market. And I did hold up, what is it called? The Grey Cup last year with the plus 5.5 and the money line plus 170. Thank you. But my point is, it's all because of your expertise, your knowledge, and me getting better and better, learning the teams, learning the tendencies, and then just taking my eyes to the market. So the weekend kicks off. CFL will be doing the whole year like we do every year. I'm just going to throw you a nice tight 40-yard spiral, and the board is yours.
Tomorrow, super excited. And one thing I'll say is that this year in the CFL, they started the year off with lots of close games. So the biggest point spread you're seeing right now is 4.5 or 5. Last year, we saw 2 teams, I believe, laying a touchdown in week 1. So it's nice to see the way the CFL has arranged things. One thing also nice about this year is that the league decided to wake up. The commissioner decided to educate himself. And once the NFL starts, the CFL will not be competing with the NFL. And they're getting all the Sunday games out of the way during the early parts of the summer and into the fall. Another thing to mention is that for the first few weeks of the season, you're going to get 1 game Thursday, 1 game Friday, 1 game Saturday, 1 game Sunday. So if you like betting and you like betting this league and you're interested in some of these picks, the good news is for entertainment purposes and just for cash and tickets purposes, you're getting a game for 4 nights out of 7 here. So I'm a fan of that personally. I like that versus just stacking 3 games on one day. So starting things out with the first game, we got BC and Calgary with the highest total on the board. I'll tell you what, that number continues to jet up. I mean, it's jetted up. I did our inaugural episode today of 2 and Out on Wager Talk, our new CFL show. And I talked about a market mover. It was for a different game, but this one probably should have been my market mover because the numbers moved in the total, the side a little bit with the 3 and 3.5 going back and forth. But 2 teams that can throw the ball, 2 teams that have talented receivers. I always talk about change in the CFL. How it's okay to bet on those teams, but you want to be careful how positive or negative that change can be. And if it will take some time for that change to make adjustments, as you know, Jeff, with a new quarterback or a new key linebacker or coaching staff, I'll tell you, the sharp money and where the money goes in the CFL, a lot of times it goes in the right direction. But sometimes it can go a little bit too far, and your eye tells you, you got to look the other way. And the Calgary Stampeders last year were the #1 rushing team in the entire league. They had 3 players that averaged 6 yards or more per carry. And the BC Lions just added to their pass rush in the offseason. Nathan Rourke is no longer the quarterback. Obviously, I mentioned last week he's in Jacksonville with the Jaguars. So Vernon Adams Jr. is a good QB, but I'm telling you what, this is one of those ones where Andrew of 6 years ago would be all over the over in this game. But the way I've learned this league, especially early on, it's going to take a perfect outing for 4 quarters to get up and over this total. I've seen some movement here, Jeff, and I want to go the other way. If you can still get the hook, I lean towards BC plus the points. I like both these clubs this year. I believe the 2 of them will probably be battling it out all year long to try and steal Winnipeg's top spot. Winnipeg's been top of the league for many, many years. But as this has moved, as our pals at Spanky will tell us, and the Wager Talk live odds, I'm looking at going the other way, Jeff, towards the under in this game. I think a little bit of defense, but the run game is the biggest factor. Tick, 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 tick. Let's kill that clock. And I'm not saying we're not going to see an exciting game, but this is the highest total on the board for good reason, but I'll take the under.
And when I look at the opening number here, it was 3 and a hook with a 47. It's up to as high as 51.5 at Caesars in New Jersey. Everyone else has got it at 51, heading to 51.5. FanDuel in Pennsylvania is only shop at 50 and a hook. So the under 51.5 with a line that's moved 4.5 points. Again, if you didn't get in early, what do I love to say? If you didn't invite me to the wedding, don't expect me at the funeral. So I believe what your eyes are seeing. So,
and something you've always told me is trust the opening number. And that's something that you've always said where, look, there's no shame in following the money. Sometimes that can lead you to success. But as you've taught me and I've learned over many years is that when you see a change that drastic, something's a little fishy. That's a lot of points, Jeff. In the NFL, how often do you see that? Maybe it goes up a point or two. We're talking about 4.5 points, right? Not a hook, not a 1 point, 47.5. So what's interesting is that in the NFL, a lot of time, or CFL, really the biggest challenge is this. Do I send out a play and send out some stuff to clients on Tuesday, or do I wait till Thursday and Friday? That's my biggest challenge. By Monday or Tuesday, maybe even the week before, unless there's a big change in what I saw from a team and I'm not looking, there's already some spots I'm looking ahead to week 2 to bet on, Jeff, and I haven't seen these guys play yet. But the biggest challenge for me is deciding whether or not I pull the trigger now or pull the trigger on Friday. And it sounds like I made the right decision waiting to pull the trigger on the under, because I would have been pretty pissed off if I played under 48. So it's good to see that number move up.
No, I like where your eyes are. Again, you're trying to do some quick math, and you know, obviously, you know, their initial thought was in that, you know, 20, 25, 22, somewhere in there as their initial thought, and the public again has already pushed it up to 51, 51.5 in a few spots. So what I like to tell people too is, you know, if you are playing the CFL or whatever you're playing, take a look at the team totals. See if the team totals have also moved with this total. So at a 51 and a 3, you know, they're telling you they think Calgary's going to get to 27. They're telling you BC's probably going to get to 24. So what is the BC Lion team total? Is it 22 and a hook? Is it 23? Is it 24? What is the Calgary team total? Is it 27, 26 and a half? Is it 28? And then you can really see, when you keep peeling those onions back, what that real true number is.
And I want you to speak to this because you know more about the different books than me, but I would say that there's the market leaders, as they call it. You know, there's the Circas, and Pinnacle. There's especially certain books that are going to be appealing to the recreational bettors and just reacting to the money, and some that are going to hold. And I think that Pinnacle is one I use for CFL as an indicator. Obviously, they're an offshore, but they're one of the number one offshores for, you know, good, trustworthy, I think, movement. And this is the thing too, which is so interesting, is that, and I'd love to hear what you think about this, because in the States, I've even heard through work where there's different odds for if the same person has a DraftKings account in Pennsylvania and that same person has a DraftKings account in Massachusetts, it might be a different point spread or a different total. Is that correct?
That's what I have heard, and I'm trying to see, like, DraftKings on Spanky's doesn't have any numbers up right now for the CFL. But if I looked at a FanDuel in Pennsylvania, they have one up. So it's interesting. Actually, on the computer, I can pull up actual numbers from DraftKings in Massachusetts. But let's just say DraftKings Massachusetts, the Patriots are playing the Eagles. You know, the Patriots are going to get bet in Boston, and the Eagles are going to get bet where Dan is, you know. So they probably do fluctuate, you know, they do move the markets. The same at Circa Vegas versus Circa in Iowa and where other states that they are. So it depends on the state and that actual market, I would assume.
And that's the big thing here around here in Canada, is some of these books are going to just react and go with the money, go with some of it. And like you said, sometimes they'll just say, you know what, you like the over? Sure, we'll keep bumping it. And that's the thing, is that it's the old adage, right? Hey, it could be a shootout tomorrow. But one thing I really want to focus on this year and get back on track with, which it was difficult the last year to do, is just betting the right numbers. I'm not saying that if I miss a good one, I might not fire, but I want to get the good numbers I possibly can. And that will definitely be an impactful play for me. And the problem is that recreational bettors that are just looking to make their pro lines, as we call it here in Canada, the slips you buy at the store, they're going to just go half an hour before kickoff and say, yeah, these two teams can score. And they're going to have no idea the total was 4 points or lower a couple of days ago. That's one thing I've noticed.
Yeah, and the people that were fortunate enough to get 47, right? If you took the under at 47, you're having a field day now. You just like keep rising, and let's just choose 51.5. Well, you got the under 47. Excuse me. You get the over 47, and now the under 51.5, and you're just sitting there hoping it lands on 48, 49, or 50. So you can't lose.
And what's funny is that this has the potential to be the highest scoring game, no doubt about it. But at that number, I can't ask for an opening game of the year. Keep in mind, this is the first game of the entire season, regular season for any team. So to ask for a shootout, I'm on the other side. Also, how big of a factor is for someone that's in your perspective? You watched it, you followed it last year. But if I told you one team was the number one running team in the league last year, doesn't that mean a little bit that they're taking time off the clock? I understand if you have a good running team, you can still score touchdowns, but doesn't a strong run game and all kinds of quotes from the coach saying they want to get back to running, aren't those under quotes?
They're definitely under quotes. The contrarian or the conspiracy theory is, well, maybe then Calgary will try to defend the run and cheat the run, and then you're going to get beat over the top, or there's going to be a lot more passing plays that weren't available because they're trying to cheat the run.
Right. I'm looking forward to it. First game. And again, we're taking an under on the first game, but it could still be, 23-21, and we make some money. So
that's right.
I'll take that.
I agree.
How important do you think the hook is, Jeff, in a game like that tomorrow? Like, are you not playing it if you can't get the 0.5? This is just me spitballing, throwing a question at you.
If I go to a window and I saw 51 and I just try to do basic math, 27, 24, that's where my head would be. I'm buying the hook. I'll spend the 20 cents. Instead of minus 110, I'll take it to 120. It takes 52 or more to beat me because, 27, 24 is 51. I didn't just invest my money and 2.5, 3 hours watching a game to say, oh boy, we pushed. Woo-hoo!
Yeah, that's how I feel about the 3.5, right? I want that 3.5 if I'm playing BC.
Correct. Absolutely.
I mean, a lot more to go through, but I'll tell you, there's a lot of the people talking about how for many years there was a string of dogs and unders weeks 1 to 3 in the CFL. There was a lot of information to back that up. During the COVID seasons, so to speak, there was one that was canceled next year, and then there was the year that we just had last season. Started late though, I think still. Those were a little bit different as far as the totals and the dogs and the favorites and that numbers. I think things settle down to where they belong. And I'll tell you, we talk about some movement a little bit here. Alouettes are now laying 3. They were minus 1.5. And I believe that's a lot to do with Jeremiah Masoli being announced. He might not be out for just 2 weeks, but he might be out for multiple weeks for the Ottawa Red Blacks. We saw Montreal pick up Cody Fajardo. And one interesting thing about that, they pick up their new quarterback, and they also picked up the offensive coordinator from the team he came from, naming him the head coach. So think about that connection they already have together from an old team, but now they're playing together, they're coaching and playing together. Ottawa, they actually just had a practice canceled yesterday due to the wildfires here in the east coast of Canada. That's a distraction. A lot of new coaches over there in Ottawa. Since 2018, they haven't surpassed 4 wins in 3 straight years. Several straight years. I'm worried about the Red Blacks and the start to their season. I'm not sure how much I like the -3. It might be a funny statement to make here, but I believe you could play all the unders at the closing number and you could go 3-1 this week. I like low scoring games. I like confusion. And I think we could see some games go crazy a bit, but we're going to see a lot of hesitancy, especially in those first halves. The teams don't go for it as much. They're testing out their punter, testing out special teams. They're trying things out, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. But I might look towards the Alouettes in the first half. Jeff, I'm not seeing a number right now at some of the American books for the first half. So if you can pull one, but either way, it would probably be around the same or -2.5, something like that for the Alouettes. That would be the play I'd give out on that one. I do like the under as well in that one, but might take a look at Montreal in the first half to get going. And then Winnipeg, obviously the number keeps climbing in that game, up to 5 points now. A lot of sharp guys and wise guys I speak to about the CFL, people I trust their opinion, Jeff. They expect this might be the year of regression for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So they've been terrorizing the league for many years, but they've got a lot of older veterans, and father time is not always great to athletes. We'll see what happens to this team this year, but you guessed it. I like the under in that game as well. I'm not sure if I'm going to take the points in that game or play anything on the side. I'm getting closer and closer to playing Hamilton, but the thing is that word change comes into play. Change is something I don't like to really get involved with too much. And I'm not sure. I like Hamilton. Don't get me wrong. I like the value on them to win the Grey Cup. Talked about it last week on the show, but I don't know how much I like them in week 1 just because there's a lot of new guys and new faces in that locker room. I don't want to scare people away from the CFL. I'm just saying I expect some defense and some maybe some sloppiness in week 1 here. So I'll be taking quite a few unders and the Saskatchewan and Edmonton game. That is my best bet over at Wager Talk. So my favorite bet of the week is over at Wager Talk. You can grab the side play in that one.
Well, listen, I was born at night and not last night. And the funny thing is just looking at that game now, and I'll ask you probably the reason why. Saskatchewan opened up -3 and at Edmonton with a 46. I'm seeing Edmonton now -2, 2.5. There is a 3 at our friends at South Point with Chris Andrews and Jimmy Vaccaro. Was that based upon injury, or was that sharp money coming in on my Edmonton Elks?
A little bit of both. I think there's lineup issues. There's people questioning the I think they're questioning some of the new guys that they brought in. There was a press conference held in Regina where the Riders play, and I like how the management said we're not going to lie to you guys about this. We're going to be completely honest. It might be a rough first few weeks, and I believe the bookmakers, they might have made a mistake with that opening number. But Edmonton, they haven't won a home game in over a year and a half. They haven't won a home game since they were named the Edmonton Elks.
And I was just going to say, last year, 8, 9, 10, 7. After week 1, where they lost by 1 million, they came home getting 7 or 8. And I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning, but I'm talking for opening week and week 2 of last year's Canadian football league. But this team was a train wreck at home. They were awful.
Yes. Look, they've got another year under their belt with their new coach, Chris Jones. He's supposedly the Bill Belichick of the CFL. We'll see what he can do with this team. They bring in Eugene Lewis, who's now the highest paid non-quarterback in the CFL. They make some changes to their defense. Saskatchewan's got good pieces, but they're just a mess. I mean, I'm not trying to be your Skip Bayless of the world right now and say this, but I've heard some people saying, what the hell does the coach of this team have on the manager? Does he know something about him that they can't, does he have something on him that he can't fire him? I don't know what the deal is with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, because they might be like the Dallas Cowboys of the CFL. I mean, they have the most passionate fan base. They're crazy. But if their team, if they start off 0-3, 0-4, there's going to be a disaster in that town. But that's why I love this time slot that we've chosen, Wednesdays, because we're going to be able to figure out what's going on here, which number is moved. Wait, hold on, that moved a lot, and we'll be able to talk about it. Because if we did the show on Monday or Tuesdays, it'd be nice to give out some opening number picks, but at the same time, if anybody watched the replay or the TikTok clips, they wouldn't be getting the same numbers that we're seeing right now.
Can you tell me what the money line is on Edmonton as we speak? Do you have it up in front of you?
-135.
All right. Well, listen, guys, that's a little too steep for me, and I don't like leaving 2s or 2.5s, but Jeff Dawson here, his play of the week, I would suggest, would be the Edmonton Elks money line. Just win, baby. That's just reading the market. That would be my suggestion. But that 135 is steep. Hey, maybe I can add it to the Sunday action parlay this week. What do you think?
I like it.
Hey,
add it in.
I'm going to add it in. Before we close here, a lot for the people that are not understanding what's going on in Canada, the wildfires, will any of these games, do you think, I was watching Ariel's feed, I think it was on Twitter last night, and then some people that were in New York, as the smoke is now coming into New York. Are these games, any of these games, going to be jeopardized potentially because of the wildfires?
Just give me 1 second. I'll click this. Just want to make sure I get the right info. The Montreal one could be, but I believe that the fires are more so in northern Quebec, so not right in the city of Montreal. That the stadium is right in downtown Montreal, so I think the air quality is okay as far as that's concerned. Toronto, they're not playing this week. They've got the bye, so they're good. And the Western games, the thing is about those wildfires is that it's still very tragic. It's awful, but those are more so in just an area where it's just all kinds of woods, unlike what was happening near where I live, where some homes were taken out, right? Communities were knocked away. I think we should be okay. If Toronto was playing, it might be a little bit in question. I saw it today with the Blue Jays. The dome is closed, but it's a beautiful day outside due to the air quality. So that's a good question. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, Jeff, we'll get all these games taken care of. And the next time I see you, maybe we'll be going to Edmonton together to watch an Elks game.
We covered a lot. What a great Wednesday. We start with some NBA action. We go over to we start in South Beach, then we tiptoe over to Florida for the Panthers in Game 3. We're sprinkling in a little, CFL for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So actually Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Excuse me. No one else in the planet covers the those kind of gamuts like we do, and we even got in a little Alec Manoah in, and so that was good. I want to shout out to TJ as always, and our buddy Connor and everyone else that was watching and listening. But as we close, always, Andrew, Crawler's been going the whole time. They can go over to McInnis Picks on Twitter. They can follow your work on Wager Talk at Mayflower, at Sports Mayflower, excuse me, and then go over to YouTube and subscribe to your podcast at Mayflower Sports. Tell them what you got going on at Wager Talk this weekend and for the rest of June and probably the summer.
Yeah, doing some gambling content now with Mayflower Sports as well. Got the studio kind of set up a little bit. Hopefully Elon Musk can come to the rescue and make sure we can get the Mayflower Sports Twitter handle, because the guy with that Twitter handle hasn't used his account in 6 years. So Elon, come on, help us out here with that. But for me, look, it's a jam-packed UFC. I think we're going to have like 25 straight weeks or 15 straight weeks of UFC weekends starting. We'll started last week. So looking forward to that. Big card on Saturday. Plays will probably go out tomorrow evening. CFL, if you want to get a 3-day pass for the price of one AM3, AM3 gets you 3 days for $39. That's the same price as 1 day. And then CFL 100 is a promo code to get $100 off my CFL subscription. Gets all my futures, all my plays, and get the plays delivered right to your phone or to your email the second I release them. You're getting the best of the numbers. And if not, if you don't want to buy any plays, that's fine by us. Hit the like button on this. Make sure you follow along with Jeff on TikTok and all the socials, and give me a follow on Twitter at McInnis Picks.
The one and only Andrew McInnis at McInnis Picks. I know you'll be enjoying some NBA, some baseball tonight. We got some hockey tomorrow, and tomorrow is Thursday. Obviously, we got the CFL to start. Can't thank you enough as always. Myself and Andrew will be back next Wednesday, either at 3 or 4 o'clock. And we'll be covering all the sports. Hopefully, there'll still be some NBA and NHL to talk about. If not, we just go straight to the MLB, and then we'll go straight to CFL and UFC. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me.
Thank everyone for watching and listening. I went overtime. Hopefully, Riley's getting ready for the closing bell. From myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from Andrew McInnis at McInnis Picks and Wager Talk, we wish everyone a blessed evening. Stay in your lanes. Sprinkle a little something on those dogs, will you? See you soon.